which was a big student organization in the 60s, which was at the forefront of a lot of civil rights protests, anti-war protests, and so on. By 1968 and 69, it was splitting. In fact, it split and was destroyed, and it split into two wings. One of them became Maoist. We'll stand out in front of General Motors factories and hand out leaflets to the workers saying, let's have a popular revolution, you follow us. That's one wing. And the other wing was weathermen. Let's break windows and smash things up and bomb and so on. Well, those were both very negative developments, and it did undermine the student movement. Not entirely. There was a strain that continued and expanded and had a big effect in civilizing the society. But those are problems that are always going to be faced. Students happen to be at a period in their lives when they're the freest they're ever going to be. They're out of parental supervision, more or less, and they don't yet have the responsibilities of trying to survive in a difficult world, put food on the table for your children, that sort of thing. So they have a period of freedom. And it's a period of which you can explore and you can try things out, you can think things. But it has to be done responsibly. And that's not so simple, even for neurological reasons. It's by now pretty well known that the male brain reaches maturation pretty late, probably in the mid-20s. So like male teenagers can be extremely irresponsible because they're basically children. They're grown up, but cognitively children. In fact, in some countries, the justice system is even getting to be modified for this. Women, it's earlier. It's like around 18 or so. But and there are probably evolutionary reasons for it. Like back in hunter-gatherer times, the population probably had to have some category of people who are willing to go out and face raging lions or without any fear or concern or something. Okay, that's young males. But these are non-trivial questions. You have to do these things think them through, do them with a sense of responsibility, ask what the consequences are. Tactics are very significant. They're not marginal. That's what has human significance. Human implications, what your tactics are. So you have to think them through, see if they're conducive to the ends you're trying to achieve, and try to formulate the ends carefully. And there's plenty of ways to go wrong. I don't regard myself as a master tactician. I've been wrong plenty of times. But you have to really think about it. And the student movements do have great potential. In fact, they had a big effect in civilizing the United States and the Western world. It's very different from what it was in the 60s. Very substantially student initiative. On the other hand, there are byways that can undermine what you're trying to achieve, and you have to be cautious about that.
I don't know if we have time to we'd like to ask you a question about the linguistic situation here at Sussex, but it's obviously very short. Do you? That's good.
Sussex University is closing the linguistics department and has a greater plan to introduce a business school. Firstly, what does this say about the direction our university is going in? And secondly, would you support protest camps and other action that has offended the management at our university, and they've threatened students with expulsion and various other fines, things like that? Would you support students in those actions?
Well, I have a special interest in the linguistics department, but it's putting that aside. There is a tendency in the universities, and it's all over the West, to sort of corporatize them, to shift the core of the educational system towards providing assistance to the business world, train people to play their role in the business world. It's not that it makes them more productive. Just take a look at the financial institutions. We don't have to talk about it. It's very destructive, But that's where there's a temptation to go there. The incentive system in the West is set up so that you have an incentive to make extremely risky actions in a big investment bank. And if you win, you're richer than you can imagine. If you lose, the public pays you off, so nothing much happens. And the thing is kind of constructed that way, and yes, you can drive people into that. So nothing productive about it, but it is a drift in the colleges. It's obvious why. That's where their funding comes from. That's how the states are run. That's the concentrations of capital. And it ought to be resisted. I mean, the universities ought to be places of free, independent inquiry, thought, so on, and not only preserve the treasures of civilization, but enhance them, understand more deeply discover the answers to hard questions, like questions about, say, human nature. It's what I think linguistics should be about. And how you balance this is not so simple. I mean, university administration, no matter how good-hearted, is going to have to face the fact that it needs funding. Colleges and universities are parasitic institutions. They depend on outside support somewhere, and they can't pretend they're on Mars. They're in societies with special concentrations of capital and resources which are going to make their demands. And you have to wade your way through this. Now, as far as the tactical decisions as to how to protest it are concerned, I'll have to go back to what I said before. Those decisions have to be made by people on the scene who can evaluate the circumstances and consider the consequences of their actions and the kinds of actions that will be constructive and the kind that will undermine their own cause. And that's a delicate decision. I mean, in my own university, I must say I've often had conflicts with student activists over this, and they've often been right, and I've often been wrong. But it's a careful decision, and I don't consider myself any authority on it, even when I know the circumstances. But from outside, you just can't say anything. Don't know enough.
Okay, well, I think we should probably let you go now because Bev told us to make sure you were off at the right time. But thanks very much. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.